There are days when waking up feels heavy, when your heart aches for no reason and your soul whispers that something is missing. In those moments, happiness can feel like a distant shore, something meant for others, not for you. But the truth is, happiness isn't something we stumble upon. It's something we build every single day. It's a decision, a quiet, consistent choice to push your heart toward light, even when it feels surrounded by darkness, because joy isn't found in what the world gives you. It's born in what you give to your own soul. Gratitude is not a feeling that visits you on good days. It is a discipline you choose when everything feels heavy and you can't find a reason to smile. It's a whisper of the soul that says, I still see the light, even when the world looks dim. The truth is, happiness isn't born from having everything perfect. It is born from noticing the beauty within the imperfect. It's when you start realizing that there are blessings hiding in plain sight, like the warmth of your morning tea, the sound of rain, or the breath you take after crying. Gratitude shifts your focus from what is missing to what is present, and that shift changes everything. You might wake up one morning with the weight of yesterday still pressing on your chest, and yet you can choose to say, Alhamdulillah, for the chance to start again. That simple act transforms the energy around you. It brings calmness into chaos, softness into pain, and strength into weariness. The problem is, we often wait for happiness to feel natural, effortless, spontaneous. But life doesn't always flow that way. There are days when joy feels like a faraway country and your heart doesn't have the map. That's when gratitude becomes your compass. It doesn't erase the storm, but it reminds you there's still sunlight somewhere behind the clouds. Every time you choose gratitude, you push yourself closer to peace, even if your circumstances haven't changed. The human heart is designed to notice pain. It remembers wounds faster than it recognizes healing. So you must teach it gently, persistently, to also notice grace, to notice the small mercies that keep arriving quietly, unannounced every day. Maybe you woke up with fear in your chest or loneliness in your thoughts. Maybe something didn't work out the way you planned. But even then, you can choose to thank the one who still allows you to breathe, to try again, to hope again. You can thank him for the strength that got you through yesterday's trials, for the people who silently prayed for you, for the lessons hidden inside your mistakes. Gratitude doesn't mean pretending you're fine. It means acknowledging that even within your struggle, there is still goodness to be found. It's the difference between saying, why me? And what can I learn? When you start to live with that question, your pain becomes a teacher, not a prison. There will be mornings when your soul feels numb, when your smile feels forced, when your prayers feel dry. On those days, gratitude is not about feeling joyful. It's about staying faithful. You remind yourself that contentment isn't a destination, it's a posture of the heart. You remind yourself that there's purpose even in this silence, even in this waiting. Gratitude doesn't deny sadness, it dignifies it. It tells your sorrow that it's not the whole story. It allows you to cry and still see beauty, to ache and still see meaning. And that's what pushes you toward happiness. Not by escaping the dark, but by finding light inside it. You see, happiness doesn't happen to you. It's something you practice, something you protect. It's in the way you respond to small moments, the way you pause to appreciate a sunset, the way you thank God after a long day, the way you forgive someone without waiting for an apology. Gratitude is the quiet seed that grows into joy when you water it daily. It's not about ignoring your pain. It's about remembering that the same heart that feels sorrow can also feel peace. So when you wake up tomorrow and your heart feels restless, start by saying thank you. Say thank you for what stayed. Thank you for what left. Thank you for what is still becoming. Because in that simple act of gratitude, you are not just thanking. You are healing. You are telling your heart that no matter what happens today, there will always be something good to hold on to. And that's how you push yourself to be happy every day. Not by waiting for better days, but by seeing the good that's already here. Happiness begins when you stop waiting for peace to arrive and start creating it in your moments. So many of us live as though peace is something we must earn. Something that comes only when the chaos ends or when every prayer is answered exactly the way we hoped. But peace was never meant to be distant. It was meant to be built piece by piece, right where you are. We wait for happiness to knock on our door, but happiness is not a visitor. It's the home we build with patience, faith, and surrender. You don't find peace in perfect conditions. You find it in the middle of imperfection, when you learn to rest your heart in trust rather than control. We spend so much of life waiting for the when. When I get that job, I'll feel stable. When I'm loved the way I deserve, I'll feel happy. When life finally slows down, I'll feel calm. But the when keeps moving further away, and the waiting turns into exhaustion. You don't have to wait for everything to settle to start feeling peace. You can start where you are, even if everything around you feels uncertain. Because peace doesn't begin in circumstances. It begins in the heart that has learned to breathe, even in the storm. The soul becomes lighter when it accepts that not everything needs to be understood, not everything needs to be fixed right now. Sometimes peace comes when you simply say, "This is hard, but I trust that I'm being carried." When you decide to create happiness in your moments, you stop giving your power to what's outside of you. You stop depending on approval, outcomes, or timelines. You begin to notice the quiet blessings. The way the sun filters through your window, the way laughter echoes even after pain, the way your heart still beats with hope after everything it's been through. These are not small things. They are reminders that joy is possible. Even here, you push yourself to be happy, not because life is easy, but because your soul deserves rest. Your heart deserves gentleness. Your mind deserves clarity. And these things don't arrive by accident. They are the fruit of choosing calm over chaos, prayer over panic, presence over pressure. Creating peace in your moments means learning to pause before reacting, to breathe before speaking, to reflect before deciding. It means giving yourself permission to feel without letting those feelings define you. It means realizing that you are not your sadness, you are not your failure, you are not your past. You are the one who survived it. You are the one still trying, still showing up. There's deep peace in simply acknowledging that you are doing the best you can. Too often we measure happiness by how much we achieve or how perfect our days look. But the truth is, happiness often hides in the smallest decisions, like choosing to smile at yourself in the mirror, or choosing to pray when it would be easier to give up. You can create happiness in your day by slowing down enough to notice your blessings, by looking around and realizing how far you've come, how much strength it took to be here. You can be proud of the quiet victories that no one else sees. The mornings you got out of bed when you didn't want to, the days you were kind even when your heart was heavy, the moments you chose faith when fear was louder. These are the moments where peace begins to grow. They don't announce themselves, they don't come with applause, but they are sacred. And when you string them together day after day, they become a life of quiet happiness. There will always be noise in the world, disappointment, comparison, loss, but you can still create stillness inside yourself. You can still protect the corners of your heart where gratitude lives. The world may not slow down, but you can. The storm may not stop, but you can find shelter within your own soul. When you stop waiting for happiness to find you, you begin to realize it's been within you all along, waiting for your permission to grow. Peace is not something that happens to you, it's something you practice. It's the gentle art of coming home to yourself again and again, no matter what the day brings. It's reminding yourself that you don't need everything to go right to feel right within. And that realization, that soft, steady trust, is the beginning of true happiness. The kind that doesn't depend on anything or anyone, but simply flows from a heart that chooses to rest in grace. The heart becomes lighter when you choose to forgive yourself for what you couldn't control. We carry so much weight that doesn't belong to us. Mistakes we made when we didn't know better. Things we said in pain. People we couldn't save. Moments we wish we could rewrite. We hold on to guilt like it's proof of how deeply we cared. But sometimes guilt becomes a cage that keeps us from moving forward. You can't heal if you keep punishing yourself for being human. You can't find peace if you keep replaying what's already done. Forgiveness is not saying it didn't matter, it's saying your healing matters more. It's looking at your past self with compassion instead of judgment. It's whispering to yourself, I was doing the best I could with what I knew then. The truth is, Some things were never in your control. You couldn't stop people from leaving. You couldn't predict how others would behave, and you couldn't prevent every heartbreak. Yet you blame yourself for all of it, as if your heart was supposed to hold the entire world together. The heart becomes so tired under that weight. It beats slower, heavier, quieter, and the only thing that makes it lighter is forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't erase the past. It transforms how you carry it. It allows you to look back without bleeding. It lets you breathe again. There's something sacred about the moment you finally say, "It wasn't my fault," and mean it. The moment you stop apologizing for being hurt, for feeling too much, for not being perfect. That's when you begin to heal. Forgiving yourself is one of the hardest forms of courage because it means facing yourself with honesty. It means admitting that you've made mistakes, but also recognizing that you are not your mistakes. You are the lessons that grew from them. You are the person who decided to rise again. When you forgive yourself, you reclaim the pieces of your heart that shame tried to steal. You remind yourself that being human means being unfinished, that every scar tells a story of survival, not failure. You don't need to keep punishing yourself for the chapters you outgrew. You just need to thank them for teaching you and then turn the page. So much of our unhappiness comes from clinging to what we can't change. We replay old conversations, wondering what we could have said differently. We carry guilt for things that were never ours to fix. But forgiveness frees you from that endless replay. It tells your soul you've suffered enough. It allows you to rest in the mercy that you've always deserved. Every time you forgive yourself, you make space for light to enter. You make space for joy to return. You make space for new beginnings that were waiting for you to let go. When you choose forgiveness, you stop identifying with your wounds. You start seeing yourself not as broken, but as being remade. You stop needing validation from the past and begin finding strength in the present. You learn to trust that the same one who saw you at your lowest can also lift you to peace. It's not about forgetting what happened. It's about releasing its hold on your heart. You don't need to keep explaining your pain to everyone. You just need to allow your soul to breathe again. You are allowed to forgive yourself for trusting the wrong people. You are allowed to forgive yourself for not knowing the outcome. You are allowed to forgive yourself for simply being human. There's a moment in healing when you realize you don't need to fix everything. You just need to stop fighting yourself. You don't need to keep reopening old wounds to prove that they hurt. You can honor what you've been through by moving forward gently, without anger, without guilt. Every breath you take in forgiveness is an act of faith, a quiet declaration that says, "I am worthy of peace." When you release the burden of what you couldn't control, you make room for grace to settle where pain once lived. You make room for peace to unfold naturally within you. Forgiving yourself doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you finally start caring for yourself too. It means you let your heart rest after carrying too much for too long. And in that rest, you'll find something beautiful. The quiet joy that comes from knowing you no longer owe your pain anything. You've paid enough with your tears, your sleepless nights, your silence. It's time to let light back in. The heart becomes lighter when you forgive yourself, and that lightness is not weakness, it's freedom. It's the kind of peace that no one else can give you because it's born within. From mercy, from understanding, from finally choosing to stop being your own enemy. It's choosing to be kind to the person you've always needed. Yourself, surround yourself with what reminds you of purpose, not what repeats your pain. Life has a way of echoing our wounds when we stay too close to the things that broke us. Sometimes it isn't the world that is cruel, it's the spaces we keep returning to, the people we keep allowing near our fragile hearts, the habits that keep reopening the same old scars. Healing requires distance from what hurts and closeness to what heals. You can't keep walking in circles and expect to arrive somewhere new. You have to start choosing peace over familiarity, meaning over noise, and purpose over patterns that drain your soul. The truth is, your environment feeds your heart. The voices you hear, the faces you see, the energy you absorb, it all shapes how you think and how you feel. If you surround yourself with negativity, you begin to mirror it. But when you surround yourself with calmness, beauty, kindness, and faith, your heart begins to bloom again. You start to remember who you are. who you were before pain tried to define you. Healing doesn't happen in chaos. It grows in quiet spaces that honor your peace. So be intentional about what you allow around you. Not everything deserves your time. Not everyone deserves access to your heart. Sometimes we keep things around us simply because we're afraid of emptiness. We hold on to memories that hurt just because they feel familiar. But that's not healing. That's self-punishment. You deserve to live surrounded by reminders of purpose, not reminders of what broke you. Keep the people who remind you that you are capable, who speak life into your dreams, who help you rise when you stumble. Let go of those who feed on your insecurities, who make you doubt your worth, who use your softness as weakness. Peace is not found in constant noise. It's found in the company of hearts that pray for you in silence. When you start building your life around purpose, you naturally attract what aligns with your soul. You begin to crave sincerity over attention, depth over distraction, truth over comfort. You begin to notice how certain conversations leave you feeling heavy, while others leave you inspired. The difference lies in alignment. When something aligns with your purpose, it strengthens you. When it doesn't, it drains you. That's how you learn to protect your energy, not out of pride, but out of self-respect. You start filtering what enters your heart, not because you're cold, but because you've learned the value of peace. Purpose reminds you why you're still here after everything you've endured. It reminds you that your life is not random, that every difficulty carried a lesson, every heartbreak carried a redirection. When you surround yourself with what nourishes that sense of purpose, you feel anchored, even in uncertainty. You stop being tossed by every storm because you know where your roots are. You wake up each day with a reason to try again, not because everything is perfect, but because you remember that there's something sacred about being alive, about being able to give, to love, to serve, to grow. Let your surroundings reflect the person you are becoming, not the pain you've survived. Decorate your space with verses that lift you, words that remind you of faith, objects that tell stories of gratitude. Let your silence be filled with reflection, your time with sincerity, your relationships with mutual care. You don't need to fill your world with more noise. You need to fill it with meaning. Every small choice, what you read, what you listen to, who you confide in, shapes your peace. And peace is too precious to be given away carelessly. The more you surround yourself with reminders of purpose, the less room pain has to echo. The past may still whisper, but it won't control the volume of your thoughts anymore. You'll begin to notice that even when pain tries to revisit, it feels out of place. That's when you know you're healing, when the things that used to define you no longer fit. You are allowed to outgrow what hurts. You are allowed to move toward what heals. You are allowed to create a life that reflects peace, not wounds. And one day, you'll look around and realize that your world has changed. Not because everything became easier, but because you chose to fill your space with light. You surrounded yourself with prayer instead of worry, hope instead of regret, growth instead of fear. You started to listen to the voice within you that whispered, you were made for more than surviving. And when you live in that truth, you stop chasing happiness. It finds you quietly in the spaces you built with purpose. Every small act of kindness is a brick in the foundation of your joy. Kindness is not about grand gestures or public recognition. It is about the quiet, deliberate choices you make to show love, compassion, and mercy to the world around you. When you hold the door for someone, offer a genuine smile, or speak a word of encouragement, you are not just impacting their moment, you are reshaping your own heart. Acts of kindness remind us that life is not just about enduring our own struggles, but about lifting others in theirs. The beauty of kindness is that it grows. Every small effort plants a seed that can blossom into joy, peace, and connection. Each time you choose to act with compassion instead of anger, patience instead of frustration, generosity instead of indifference, you are constructing a stronger, lighter, more resilient version of yourself. Kindness is transformative because it changes perspective. It teaches you to see beyond your own pain and limitations, to notice the needs, struggles, and hopes of those around you. When you give without expecting, you experience a profound sense of freedom. Freedom from selfishness, freedom from resentment, freedom from the constant weighing of what you do not have. Small acts of kindness can take many forms. A listening ear to someone who feels unheard, a warm meal for someone hungry, a note of encouragement for someone lost in despair. Each of these acts, though seemingly minor, carries weight in the invisible architecture of your life. They build character, cultivate gratitude, and remind your heart of the good that exists even in a world that can feel heavy. The paradox of kindness is that while it benefits others, its first home is your own heart. The moment you choose to act kindly, even when it is inconvenient or unnoticed, you begin to dismantle barriers within yourself. Bitterness softens, judgment fades, and your heart expands to embrace more joy than it could hold before. Your spirit feels lighter because you are no longer carrying the weight of indifference or anger. Instead, you are participating in the sacred rhythm of giving and receiving grace. This is how kindness becomes a path to happiness. It does not chase it, demand it, or try to manufacture it artificially. It invites it naturally, gently, by aligning your soul with what is good, true, and beautiful. Small acts of kindness also cultivate connection, the invisible threads that tie human hearts together. When you show empathy, patience, and care, you remind others of their own worth, and in turn, you affirm your own. There is an unspoken exchange that occurs when kindness is offered. It is a cycle that nurtures both giver and receiver, and in these connections, happiness begins to grow. You may never know the full impact of your kindness, but that is precisely its grace. It asks only that you act, not that you witness the results. Even the briefest gesture, a smile, a kind word, a helping hand, can reverberate far beyond your immediate awareness, sending ripples of joy into the world and back into your heart. Kindness also teaches patience and humility. It reminds you that every person is carrying unseen burdens, that mistakes are part of being human, and that love is stronger than judgment. When you act with compassion, you practice understanding, tempering your reactions, and choosing gentleness over harshness. You learn to slow down, to notice, to respond rather than react. In these moments, happiness is not a fleeting emotion, but a sustained state of being, one that arises from the alignment of your actions with your values, your heart with your intention, your life with purpose. Every day offers countless opportunities for these small acts, a word of gratitude, a prayer for someone, a simple smile, forgiveness, patience, generosity, and humility. When you consciously choose them, you are not only helping others, you are cultivating your own joy. You are reminding yourself that happiness is not a distant goal to be achieved, but a life to be lived moment by moment. Each act of kindness is a brick, each brick a step toward building a heart that is lighter, a spirit that is freer, and a life that is richer in meaning. The accumulation of these acts forms a foundation so strong and so enduring that it can support your joy even when circumstances are difficult, reminding you that the source of happiness is not external but cultivated quietly, persistently, in the choices you make every day. Don't chase happiness. Cultivate it quietly in the corners of your ordinary life. So often we think of happiness as something grand, something that comes with achievements, wealth, recognition, or perfect circumstances. We imagine it as a distant summit that we must climb, a reward waiting at the end of struggle. But in reality, happiness is rarely found in extremes. It grows in the quiet spaces, in the unnoticed, in the everyday choices that shape the rhythm of our hearts. It is in the gentle unfolding of a morning light, the soft comfort of a familiar song, the aroma of food shared with loved ones, the pause to take a breath when life moves too fast. These small, often overlooked moments, when recognized and cherished, form the tapestry of a joyful life. Cultivating happiness requires intention. It is not passive. It is not waiting for life to grant it. It is active, deliberate, a daily practice that requires awareness and effort. It begins with presence, the conscious decision to notice what is around you and within you. It is found when you allow yourself to feel gratitude for the simple gifts, a smile from a stranger, a bird singing in the morning, the warmth of sunlight on your skin. Happiness flourishes when you stop comparing your life to others, when you stop measuring joy in material success or social validation, and instead look inward for what truly matters. The ordinary, when embraced